Hey there, and welcome back to Tactical Breach Wizards. My name is Pete, and today we complete another episode of this completionist walkthrough on hard difficulty with health cut in half. Last time we left off, after a slightly different episode, we completed Jen's anxiety dream. We also unlocked 3 more achievements and are now ready to tackle the game's third act. Our team of wizards is still pursuing Liv Kennedy, who together with her team has apparently traveled over to Kalan, so logically that is where we will be going today too. Chapel still runs supply trains from Liboli into Kalan. They leave from this cargo depot outside of Aldo. We stake it out till a Chapel train comes in, let them load up, then jump on the back after it leaves the station. Yeah, won't it be moving kinda fast? Nah, freight trains take a minute to even reach walking speed. Are you a train nerd? I was a Navy SEER, this isn't my first train heist. But yes, of course I'm a train nerd. Aww. I didn't buy this needlessly accurate miniature freight train because I thought you guys would need a visual aid. Okay, good, cause that did seem patronizing. But won't they just find us and stop the train? Right, we need control of the train before we go loud. Jen, the cap at the front should be breachable, but not from the ground. Can you draw a breaching glyph on a flyby? It's never come up, but I'm excited to be living the kind of life where I find out. I'm chalking that up as an extremely stressful unknown, but it's still our best bet. Wait, you said this thing's only moving at walking pace? No problem, Shania only shakes when we get near Mag 1. Okay, later I absolutely need to know why you call your broom Shania, but now does not feel like the time. Once you get in, you will politely eject the driver, disable the emergency stop system, and we'll work our way towards you from the back. And what if we have to wait a boringly long time? That's the human cost of this operation. I've got a good audiobook on the role of Mulassan anti-tank monks in World War IV if you want to borrow. Is it about their human stories and the cultural context, or more it's entirely about the craft dynamics of armor penetration? I'll just stare at the train station. Thanks. I'll take the book. Alright, looks like we got it. Ultimately, we are going to have to fight a whole train full of Chapel forces, right? Sure, but a train is just a series of rooms. And you think we can clear any series of rooms? Well, we are 3 not incompetent wizards who have breached some moderately hostile rooms without dying unrecoverably yet. I think I actually lost confidence from that pep talk. Liv always did these, I don't have the swagger. Jen, we're in position. Are we clear to breach? 1 sec. Okay, yep, emergency brakes disconnected. Go nuts. We'll probably go carefully and quietly. But thanks. Right, welcome to episode 7 of Tactical Breach Wizards. We are moving, and with Jen over at the other end of the train, we currently only control Zan and Dessa Banks. Their goal is to reach the green zone, a mechanic that we already know from Jen's anxiety dream, and our enemies are Chapel trackers. Mechanically, however, they are the exact same as the trackers we already met before. Our confidence goal's then quite simple. Zan wants to finish at full health and Banks wants to hit 2 enemies with a single spectral skull, so let us work towards that. After breaching, we can move in with Banks and grab the intel, and positioning here is key because from here we can launch the spectral skull in such a way that it hits the first enemy twice. So that's 1 tracker down, the other one at 1 hit point, and Banks' confidence goal completed. Zan can now move in to take out enemy number 2 and then lay down a predictive bolt at the reinforcement door, and then we can end our turn. At this point we could now stay and wait for the last reinforcement to take them out too, but that will hardly be a challenge, so instead let's just finish the level. One car down, sit tight till we get there, do not engage alone. Right, yeah, that would have made a lot of sense. Right, so Jen has found her way to the front of the train and she's all on her own. Needless to say, she wants to finish this quickly in just 2 turns, as she is currently also targeted by a Chapel cleanser. This is indeed a new type of enemy, sort of a grenadier, although they are only dealing 2 points of damage. Granted, with health cut in half, that is enough to kill one of our wizards. On top of that, however, cleansers also force their targets to lose all of their mana. So best not to get hit by them in the first place, which we can achieve here with a simple broom breach, which we can use to avoid spending our movement action to get close to the intel. Then we can set up a chain bolt, pushing the cleanser out of the window, the first tracker into the explosive barrel and the second one into the air canister, and with that the room is almost cleared. And we will actually manage to completely clear it and also escape in just one turn, because we do have a second use of Broom Breach as well as the Gale Grenade, enough to eliminate our last enemy. And since we still have not officially moved on this turn, we can now get into the green zone and clear this zone as well. Back at the back of the train, Zan and Dessa then also find themselves face to face with 3 enemies. 2 of them are the already familiar trackers, number 3 meanwhile is a shepherd. Now shepherds can be rather annoying enemies. While they do not have any particularly special offensive capabilities, they always take a reaction shot at you immediately upon firing at one of their allies. What they don't do, however, is retaliate if you attack them, and they also can't take this reaction shot if they don't have line of sight. Essentially, that means that for an encounter involving them, you should either prioritize them and take them out first, or attack their allies from positions where the shepherd can't target you. For this fight, we'll go with the first option. Also, a quick look at our confidence goals here. Once again, Zan wants to finish at full health and Banks wants to cause 3 total extra knockback by making enemies unsteady, so we'll have to use her sedative cocktail a bit more. So, let's get to it then. We'll use a trick here that I explained a few episodes ago, move behind Banks and set up Predictive Bolt with Zan, so that if Banks now grabs the intel and then moves out of the way, we can take a shot at the shepherd. That leaves him standing at 1 hit point, and we'll throw a sedative cocktail for good measure, which will in just a second apply an extra point of knockback because we are going to hit the air canister here. Because with the extra point of mana that Zan just gained, we are going to give a time boost to Banks, who can then use her Spectral Skull again, and because this is technically all part of the same attack, the shepherd will not get to retaliate even though we target the tracker first. So that is the worrying enemy of this level defeated. The trackers should be easy. We could avoid a theoretically infinite number of them by just taking cover, but our goal for this level is in fact to eliminate all hostiles, including all reinforcements, so it's a good idea to thin out the opposition whenever a chance presents itself. Once again then, we find ourselves with 2 trackers against us, so let us employ the Predictive Bolt trick again. This also makes room for Banks to throw a sedative cocktail at the tracker. And that's actually very important to complete her confidence goal. After Zan has eliminated the first tracker, he can then go to work on number 2, and once again an extra point of knockback is applied, the second of 3 we need on this level. Conveniently enough, we also have 2 more enemies coming in as reinforcements, so we are now going to repeat the entire process 2 more times. First, a sedative cocktail, carefully making sure not to hit Dessa or Zan, and then a 3-bolt burst for the takedown. This now the 3rd time that an extra point of knockback was applied, thus completing Dessa's confidence goal. So with enemy number 3 here, we could in theory do whatever we want, but in my opinion there is no need to deviate from what worked so well. Jen, we've hit a security door. Any chance you can open it from the control room? No, but there's a console 2 cars up train that'll probably do it. That's not much use to us from the other side. Then it's all down to your cool witch friend who's bad at waiting and already went to there. So then, Jen now gets her first taste of a Chapel Shepherd as well. In addition, she also wants to defenestrate 2 hostiles in 1 turn, and I think that already makes it very clear how we are going to approach this. First we'll move, and then it's Broom Breach time, as we need to grab ourselves some intel. Then we'll use Chain Bolt to push both of the trackers out of the window, and to make sure he doesn't retaliate, we'll also push the shepherd into the stun barrel. confidence goal completed, and we might as well complete one of our main objectives too. Let's use the second charge of Broom Breach here to get to the laptop and open the security door. Also, with 2 more reinforcements coming in, we want to make sure that on the next turn we can get out of here. So we target ourselves with the Gale Grenade to get an extra movement action, which already gets us close to the exit. Now at this point, very importantly, we can't just run for the green zone and end the level. If we did that, then the tracker right next to us would get to shoot us one more time in the 4C phase, which, as you know, is still part of this turn. So we need to do something about this tracker first. The other one can thankfully not target us from where they're standing. We could just shoot them. Thankfully the Shepherd does not have line of sight either, but that would not take them out, so instead let's move and then shoot the stun barrel. That will ensure that we get a safe exit out of here. And here you can also see it again, we do not get a 4C phase because the tracker in the back cannot target us. If you're in the next car anyway, Jen, we could actually use a hand in here. Ignore him, we're fine. They're in a sec, save me a time boost. Alright, things are getting a bit more interesting now on this 5th and final level, as we have trackers, a Shepherd and a Riot Priest, protected by 1 point of armor and, unless we deal at least 2 points of damage, also gas masked and thus immune to sedative. They are, however, only a melee enemy, dealing 5 points of damage and 1 point of knockback with their shield slam attack. Needless to say, we need to stay out of their range. Now this time we have 3 confidence goals here, including one for Jen, who at the moment is not part of the team, but who is about to join us very soon from the back of the car, or in this case it's actually the front, I suppose. Either way, the game slightly alludes to it by calling this a nice door, a hint that we actually want to keep in mind for later in this episode. For now though, let's tackle the situation at hand. First we'll move Zan over into the corner here, and then we'll grab the intel with Banks. We can now use her Spectral Skull to hit the Priest, the Shepherd and the explosive barrel behind them, and as the cherry on top, we're actually going to hit both enemies twice. This instantly takes out the Shepherd and makes the mission a bit easier. At this point, we now need to move her behind cover, from where she can then use her transference ability to transfer damage from Zan to the Riot Priest. Zan, meanwhile, now has a clear line of fire to shoot the tracker out of the window, and can then finish his turn by taking cover, which Dessa can actually also do. This protects them now from one tracker, while the other one still has a shot at Zan, but we are prepared. So instead of harming Zan, the damage is transferred to the Riot Priest. On the next turn then, a Cleanser joins the party, but so does Jen. And we'll actually start things off with her and her confidence goal to defenestrate 2 enemies in one turn. The first is the tracker in the back here, and number 2 will shortly be the one standing right next to her. Using her bonus move, however, we will first grab the intel, and then we'll hit 2 birds with 1 stone, or Gale Grenade. Not only does this complete Jen's confidence goal, but it also gives her another movement action, and we're going to use that to lure the Riot Priest to exactly where we need them to be. Afterwards, we will then move Zan into position to make use of all that, while Dessa works on completing her confidence goal, and that is to push an enemy into death's door. And from her current position right here, that won't be too difficult, as her sedative cocktail applies 1 tile of knockback, and that is all we need. So there we are, 2/3 of the way there. Let us now ensure that the Riot Priest does not get in the way of Zan's confidence goal. The predictive bolt here will catch them and deal enough damage to take them out. And with that, I think we can confidently say that the worst is behind us. Unfortunately though, we will have to also take out of these last 2 reinforcements, a tracker on this turn and then another one on the next, although Zan here already makes sure that last one won't get far. A static blast from Jen then eliminates the one already present, and with that we are more or less done here. And now, with turn 4 just about to begin, we are officially done. So there we are, on board of a chapel train we have entered Kalan, and we've also caught our first glimpse of an organization that we are soon going to see a lot more of. We focused a lot on how to get on that train and maybe not enough on where we'd get off. I was kinda banking on an out-of-town supply depot. Let's focus on achieving the out-of-town part fairly immediately. And yes indeed, it looks like we have not seen the last of Chapel. In front of us only a cleanser and 2 trackers, nothing too difficult to get us started here. However, Zan also wants to finish the level without letting any enemies attack us, Jen wants to finish it by the end of turn 2, and Banks wants to hit 3 enemies with a single spectral skull. Ideally, that'll be the 3 that we can currently see. However, in order to facilitate that, we need to push the cleanser a bit more into position. Conveniently enough, this gives Jen a bonus movement to go and seal the first reinforcement door, and then we can switch over to Dessa, who can move, grab the intel, and then launch her spectral skull. And as you can see, the 3 enemies are in perfect position. That would be the first confidence goal completed, and at this point we want to take note of a hole in the ground, a fact that we can utilize to get a double takedown with Jen here. The static blast also gives her another bonus movement, allowing us to seal reinforcement door number 2, and that leaves Zan to deliver the last point of damage. I don't know if we can take 4 of those things. I had no idea Chapel Street presence was this heavy. Feels like we walked into the tail end of a clash. So yes indeed, that's 6 enemies including 4 Riot priests, with more coming in through the reinforcement door in the back. However, you might also see that in the list of confidence goals a new name has appeared, although at this point we have absolutely no idea who that might be. However, that is a question that we might receive an answer to very soon. Maybe you have spotted it as well, we have another one of those nice doors here. Nonetheless, for the time being, it is still only Jen, Zan and Dessa, with the latter wanting to hit 5 enemies with a single spectral skull, and well, instead we're simply going to make it 6, so that we unlock another achievement. After Jen's Gale Grenade pushes the tracker into position, we have the perfect opportunity, so let's fire Ghost Skull Gary to unlock the 6-shooter achievement. Right, so far so good. As you can see, this has not really helped us thin out the enemy numbers. To do that, and to also complete her confidence goal, we now jump over to Jen and launch a Chain Bolt. However, before we do that, we first set up a predictive bolt with Zan, so that we at least deal moderate damage to one of the priests. So that's 2 enemies. Well, I wouldn't call it defenestrated, but the game counted nonetheless. And yes, Zan does have an action left, but with 1 point of armor he can't really do anything against the priests. Get inside, I've got this. Appreciate it, but we don't really have an inside yet. Then get out of the curfew zone. Okay, but we're going to help you first. Sorry. Alright, there we are. You've probably seen it coming. We have gained a new squad member, Dall Sabin, the rebel riot priest. You've all heard of her, a resistance icon using the armor of her chapel oppressors against them. She might be the only thing that hits harder than they do. Now, as you can see here, Dall comes with 1 point of armor and she's got 2 actions, Charge and Sensor Slam. Charge allows her to run in a straight line and slam an enemy at the end of it, and the further she travels, the higher the amount of knockback dealt. Sensor Slam, meanwhile, is a close-range melee attack, simple and straightforward, dealing 1 point of damage and 1 tile of knockback. For the cost of 1 point of mana, Dall is also capable of swapping positions with anyone she can see, friend or foe, and finally, once per encounter she can throw her Riot Shield to block an enemy's path. By the way, I am actually not 100% sure whether or not her name is pronounced Dal or Dall. I'm also not quite sure if it's Sabin or Sabin. For now, I'll stick to Dall Sabin as that's what I've heard another YouTuber call her, but feel free to correct me on that. Now, we'll get to Dall and her confidence goal in just a moment. First of all, we'll use Jen to clean up the battlefield a bit more. First, pushing a Riot Priest down the hole and then grabbing the intel, which as you can see now has the remaining 4 enemies gang up on her. So, best to get rid of a few more of them, and one easy way to do that is with a Death's Door from Dessa Banks. While we're at it, we'll also cast Transference on Jen to transfer the damage she takes to the Riot Priest right next to her here, and then we'll switch to Zan, who still has a point of mana and can therefore give Jen a time boost now. With her newfound action, Jen can now cast a Chain Bolt, pushing 1 priest into the void, a 2nd into position and a 3rd down the hole. And with this guy now standing in a straight line as far away as possible from Dall, we're going to charge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiles, delivering a grand total of 7 tiles of knockback. Now, admittedly, 1 was all it took to knock the priest out, but to complete Dall's confidence goal we need to get 10 tiles of knockback in total. And we should be able to get the remaining 3 on the next turn with whatever comes through the reinforcement door, as the predictive bolt here together with transference will all be used to take out the priest. So, that's an enemy essentially knocking themselves out. Appearing on the next turn, then we only have 1 poor tracker, who conveniently enough also positions themselves right in Dall's path, and she is 4 tiles away, so completion of the last confidence goal is imminent. The extra knockback damage then also enough to take the tracker out, and at this point we can also take note of the fact that Dall has not yet used her movement action, so mobility could become somewhat of a theme with her, just as it is for Jen. And so here we are now in zone 3 of 3, the last one of this mission. Immediately we see 3 reinforcement doors and not 1 but 2 chapel shepherds, also accompanied by a lone tracker who should hopefully not be too much of a problem. And just to make this clear, while shepherds will not retaliate if they are attacked themselves, they will very much retaliate if another shepherd is attacked, so it looks like no matter what we do here, we are going to take some damage. Well, don't worry, in just a second we will learn that taking damage might not be such a bad thing after all. Until then, let's check out our confidence goals. The ones for Zan and Jen pretty much go hand in hand. While Dall's might be easily misunderstood, she wants to deal 5 points of slam damage with 1 charge. That is not the same as knockback. Instead, it is excess knockback converted into damage if the knockback target hits a wall or an obstacle. Her first target here, meanwhile, is only going to hit a hole in the ground. We have 4 tiles of build-up here, and that is exactly the distance the shepherd needs to be pushed back. Now, as a result of this attack, Dall immediately gets shot, and you can see that this has just gained her 1 point of mana. Now, admittedly, despite her 1 point of armor, we won't be able to repeat this, so cutting health in half for this playthrough arguably hurts her as a character a bit more than the others. Now, with 1 shepherd down, we still have the other one to worry about, and for that one we will once again employ the power of Predictive Bolt, as Jen can move right behind them to push them into it. This also gains Jen a bonus movement action, which we'll use to seal the door over on the far left here, and in doing so we have also already prevented more than 5 reinforcements, thus completing Zan's confidence goal. Banks, meanwhile, is going to move over here to grab the intel and then uses Spectral Skull to take out the shepherd. Yes, perhaps a bit of a waste of mana, but there is plenty available in this mission. And before we switch things over to Zan, we will also have Dessa place a Death's Door right behind the tracker. Once again, a very powerful tool to deal with a rather weak enemy, but thanks to Jen's confidence goal, time is once again of the essence, so we can't be choosy. To finish the turn then, we'll move Dall back as far as possible from that second reinforcement door. That puts us in the perfect spot to complete her confidence goal. Just as a reminder, we need to deal 5 points of slam damage, so damage that is dealt after the enemy is knocked back, and we're going to facilitate that by using her swap ability to switch places with the cleanser. Then we'll have her move and seal the door in the process as well, and afterwards we can charge a total of 6 tiles, resulting in 1 tile of knockback, and then as the cleanser hits the wall, 5 points of damage. And there we go. Now we only have Jen's goal to worry about, and that one requires us to finish things on this turn. And since our last enemy here is another Riot Priest, that pretty much only presents us with one path to success, and that's called Death's Door. Still, pushing a Riot Priest back 2 tiles is a tough task, even for Jen, who first of all also needs to get herself into position. Conveniently enough though, those holes in the ground can in fact be used as targets for Jen's Broom Breach, which all of a sudden puts her in place for Static Blast after Dessa moves out of the way. Still, the Riot Priest is resilient, so they are only knocked back 1 tile. Good thing that Zan can give her time boost to try again. And there we are. Now it's only a matter of sealing that last reinforcement door, and well, once again Broom Breach comes in handy here, getting Jen much closer and allowing her to cover the remaining distance with her bonus movement. And there we are, the mission is complete, and we have recruited the Riot Priest Dall Sabin to our small group of wizards, who should be able to help us establish a foothold here in Kalan. Right, who the f*** are you and where did you get your death wish? Hey, I'm Jen, this is Zan, and that's Banks. We're tracking a team of Black Ops wizards who are burning mana reserves, possibly to start a war. Well, you're not Chapel, so that's a good start. Why so sure? They would lock you up for the outfits you're wearing. They're not above spies, but foreigners casting spells in the streets disproves what they say is biologically possible, forget legal. Well, that's f***ed up. Tip of a f***ed up iceberg stretching down decades. So they say only Kalanis can cast? Only the Chapel Anointed. They used to claim magic was a foreign lie, till they figured out how to control people with it. Now they invented it by attuning with the Pantheon. Either way, if people don't believe they have power, they never push hard enough to find out. So, any other biologically impossible foreigners shown up recently? No word, but I'm not intel. If you're here to stop a war, you came at the right time. The Chapel are about to invade Medil. They've been threatening that for years though, right? It's happening, announcing in Friday's sermon. Oh shit. The first chaplains are gonna declare war on the heretics, and the resistance is gonna lose a decade of blood-bought progress. Well, how does it hurt the resistance? Kalani solidarity. That's why they're doing it. We're finally starting to expose them, and this is their nuclear-scale distraction. The crusty old nationalists will crow for everyone to come together for the war effort, the moderates will say it's not the time to focus on our differences, and every twisted bone we've exposed of the Chapel's true nature will slide back under the comfortable fat of national unity. Graphic. I've had to explain it a lot. Look, I don't know if your war is the same as ours yet, or if they even connected, but if you've got a plan to stop it, you're one up on us. I have 25 years of Special Forces experience, Jen's the best investigator I know, and Banks can raise the dead. How can we help? Well, I'm glad you asked. And there we are, our squad has officially grown to 4, and we have perks to hand out to Zan and our latest recruit Dall Sabin. And let's begin with our Navy Seer, who I think will receive yet another perk to increase the power of his predictive bolt. Conviction here allows him to use the ability again if it knocks someone out, and for achievement purposes that is something that we have to grab sooner or later. Jumping over to our Riot Priest, I will not read out every single perk upgrade we have available here, but of course feel free to pause the video if you want to read through them all. In the beginning here, I think Charge is Dall's bread and butter ability, so our first perk point will be spent on Rampage, which once per turn refunds Dall's action if Charge hits a target. And since Charge is almost always going to do that, this seems like a handy boost to the action economy. Now, before we wrap things up, let us unlock one final achievement, as we have in fact earned enough confidence points with Jen to equip the Private Eye outfit. Costing 15 confidence points, this unlocks the Own It achievement, while as you can see, none of our other wizards currently have any new outfits to equip. And so, having more or less safely made it into the country of Kalan and having bolstered our ranks with the Riot priest Dall Sabin, I think it's time that we make the cut for today. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.